Hi, everybody. Excuse me. Hi, everyone, and welcome to our week number 7 Twitch live stream for my intro psych class. Forgive me, I feel like I'm getting sick. Like definitely not feeling fantastic. So I'll do my best, but I'm sorry if I cough and things like that. At least we're not in person, so I can't give it to you. But I hope everybody is hanging in there. We're getting close to the end of our 8-week class. I know it's a really overwhelming like week or two of the semester, so don't forget to take care of yourselves and hang in there. I want to go over today what we have going on for week number 7, as we're in that like second to last week of the class. But really quickly, can you all hear me and see me okay? Is everything coming through clear on your end? If somebody could give me like a yes or a thumbs up, that would be super helpful just to make sure before I keep going. Okay, great. Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. You letting me know. Thank you, thank you. So, we, as I said, are in week number 7. Hard to believe that we're in the last 2 weeks of our class, and I will mention this a couple of times, but notice that week number 8 does end on Friday next week. So we have a full week this week, and then next week ends on Friday the 16th. So a little bit shorter of a week next week. So just make sure that you kind of are planning ahead for that and adjusting for that. But let's look at what we have going on this week. And we do have a little bit more this week than kind of a typical week. So I want to make sure that you're feeling clear about it. You have a little self-care and mindfulness assignment. That I want to go over in some detail. And then obviously next week is open for you, which includes our normal stuff plus our final exam and a short closing assignment along with a little survey. So let's just go through everything for this week and make sure you're feeling good and clear. And of course, you're always welcome to start on next week if you're ready. You have that flexibility, but I'm going to focus on week 7 since that's where we are currently at. So this week we are looking at chapters 13 and 14. I love that I'm talking to you about stress and health as I'm fighting a cold, but stress and health and psychological disorders. So, chapter 13, as always, you'll want to do those 3 things: read the chapter in the book, read through the lecture, and then watch the lecture video and consider taking notes, as that's me lecturing like I would in person. And you'll do the same thing, of course, for chapter 14 on disorders, which is what most people tend to think of when they think of psychology. And then once you've done those 2 things, as always, you have 2 discussions this week. Discussion 13 and 14. And discussion 13 and that self-care mindfulness assignment kind of piggyback off each other a little bit. So let's take a look at all of that together. And of course, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. As always, you have my instructions at the top, followed by a little video, which I would definitely recommend watching. So for this one, what you're doing is you're reading the book, right? And that's something that you're going to need to do for this week anyway, is kind of read through that self-care book. It's not a long read, but it definitely will take you a little bit to do. And I have some areas that you're really focusing on, which, is something that you can kind of look at in a little bit when we go over that assignment. But for this one, you're going to read through that book. And also that will help you for the assignment later. And then you're going to do 3 things. So I'm really trying to encourage you to practice self-care this week as we near the end of the semester and we probably need it the most. I once saw a picture that said the time to practice self-care or the time to relax is when you don't have time for it. And that's so true, even if that's really difficult. But for this discussion, you're going to answer these 3 questions. Number 1, what is self-care and why is it important? And you can define and describe that. And then you're going to take and share, so upload, 5 pictures of you engaging in a self-care activity. Now, these need to be your own images. You can use your phone or any camera that you have access to. Try to have the images be thoughtful and creative, well composed, right? You're being graded on the picture in addition to what you write. You don't need to be in the picture. I'd actually kind of prefer that you weren't, but it can be any element of you practicing self-care. So let's say you do my favorite self-care practice of getting some cake. Take a picture of the cake and upload it and then write about it. Or you go on a walk, you could write that and take a picture of some element of the walk. Or maybe you make your favorite meal as a way to care for yourself. You could take a picture of any element of the meal or the completed meal, and then you're going to write about it. So you're going to share those 5 images, and with each one, you're going to give me a short description of the activity that you did and how it promotes self-care and how you felt during and after it. And so I'm really hoping this should be something that is enjoyable for you. Don't overthink it, as you'll read about in the textbook, in the self care book. This can literally be anything, anything that makes you happy, anything that helps you care for yourself, going on a walk, taking a nap, having your favorite snack, watching a movie, like anything that promotes self care. And so you'll upload those 5 images, as you can see, some of you have already done. And then you're also going to write a short description. And don't forget to also reply to a classmate to get those 2 points. And this is also going to help you with the self care assignment that's due this week, which we'll talk about in a couple of minutes. The other discussion 14, is related to psychological disorders, kind of one of the more fun topics. And if you're really interested in that topic, as a side note, I do teach abnormal psychology in person. If you'd like to take another psych class, that's a really fun one. Along with human sexuality, I also teach that every semester in person as well. But if we look at discussion 14, as always, again, you have my instructions followed by my video. And this one, you're reading a short article about diagnosing mental illness. Now, the main perspective that's being presented in this chapter and in the book is that mental illness is a thing, it's diagnosable, it's something that's recognizable, but I wanted to give you an opportunity to kind of think about that critically. So there was a book written, and it's an old book, it was from the 1960s, but it's a very popularly referenced book by a man named Thomas Szasz. And what he writes about in this book is that mental illness is a myth. And I wanted you to have an opportunity to kind of see the polar opposite perspective. And so that's what you'll be doing. You'll be reading this little excerpt. And I did read it out loud to you. If you would rather listen to it rather than read it on your own, you can laugh. I struggled with a word somewhere halfway through there, so you can laugh as I struggle with that, and then get frustrated and move on. But what you're going to do for this one is, after you read that, you'll answer these 3 questions. You're going to summarize Szasz's main ideas from the excerpt you read. What are some of the reasons he presents as support for his claims of calling mental illness a myth? Do you agree with him? Why or why not? Right? And you can have whatever opinion you have. I'm curious your thoughts and reactions and opinions. And then, how do you think that diagnoses stigmatize people? In what ways do diagnosing people help them and or hinder them? And I think that you can really talk about both sides of that. So when you're ready, you'll hit reply and answer those 3 questions. And then don't forget, as always, to answer one of your classmates to get those 2 points. These are your second to last of the 2 discussions. You have 2 this week and 2 next week. So don't forget to really elaborate. If you find that you're consistently missing a point or 2, again, continue to give me more, and that will hopefully get you 2 full points. The other thing that you do have this week, besides our usual like extra credit and recording that will be up later, and I'll give you the extra credit in a little bit here, is you have a self-care and mindfulness assignment, which is really kind of connecting to discussion number 13. And if you remember back at the beginning of the semester, you purchased not only the Psyched book, but also this self-care book. And so if you haven't read it yet, that's totally fine. You're going to be reading it now. And it's not an overly long book. Most of the book is actually examples that you can kind of flip through quickly. But you have 10 questions from the book that you're going to be answering for this assignment. And it is worth 25 points, so more than a discussion. You're going to want to spend a little bit of time here. So after you read the book, and if you remember back, you should have received 2 emails back at the beginning of the semester. And sometimes people maybe deleted it or misplaced it, but you either ordered it from Vital Source or Red Shelf. So go back and see if you can find that if you haven't already. And then you're going to answer these 10 questions. You're going to describe or list the 5 categories of self-care, describe 2 benefits and 2 barriers, whichever ones jump out at you, to practicing self-care. There's a couple of inventories in there that I'm going to ask you to complete and upload. What are 2 things that you could try if you found yourself in need of emergency self-care? You're going to complete and upload a picture of the daily self-care plan worksheet and then the weekly one. You're going to complete these little inventories and then answer these couple of questions as well, right? So you're going to try out a mindfulness activity. You're going to kind of give me your thoughts. So this should be like roughly 4 to 5 pages in total, maybe a little bit more, including those worksheets that you should be uploading. More than the formatting, I'm just looking to see that you have answered all of those questions, that you've done all the worksheets. And this is my push for you to practice self-care at a time when most of us probably really need it. So formatting wise, make sure you number all of your questions so that I can very easily find your responses, write everything as clearly as possible. It should be typed, except for those worksheets, which you can take a picture of. And you are going to upload that right here, right up at the top. You're going to upload it here in this like assignment, right, that we're on. And that should give you the opportunity to submit it right here. And you can see my rubric right here, the breakdown of your different grades. So make sure that you are working on this. It is going to take you a little bit more time. So definitely get going on this as it's due by that Friday the 16th and is a big part of your assignments for this week. Okay, so those are kind of the big things for this week. And if you're looking ahead to next week, as always, you'll have 2 chapters, 2 discussions, and an exam because it's an even week. And next week we do have our final, though it's not at all cumulative. It's just a 4th test. And you do have a little closing assignment that's going to kind of push you to think back over the course of our class and what are some things that you could apply to your life, along with a little closing survey of giving me your feedback of what you liked and maybe could be improved about the class. So if you wanted to work ahead, those are the things for next week. Of course, I'll be going over those next week when we have our last live stream on Wednesday, but I did just want to kind of mention them really quickly in case you were interested in starting those and working ahead. Okay, so I do have a couple of reminders for you. The first one, as always, is if you could take a moment to check your subscription status, right? Chelsea right here, Adrian, a bunch of people have actually fallen off. I want to say there's like 4 of you that are still subscribed. So I'm having to go through and find you all. And remember, if you're watching this later, that's the only way you can still get that extra credit so I can track your attendance. The other reminder, if you're looking ahead to next week, so next week is the 14th. Our next and last Twitch live stream will be on Wednesday, May 14th at 11:45 a.m. Okay, so that will be our last Twitch live stream next week, last opportunity for those 2 extra credit points. And I'll go over everything next week for the final exam, the closing assignment, and all of that. And of course, if you do have any questions, it's a wonderful opportunity to ask me. Otherwise, let me give you the extra credit question for this week, which is connected to the topics that we're covering. So this is the week number 7 Twitch extra credit question. And what it is, I'll put it right here in the chat. What does DSM stand for, and what edition are we currently in? What does DSM stand for, and what edition are we currently in? And so when you're ready, you'll go back to Canvas, and since we're in week 7, you'll click on optional Twitch extra credit number 7 right here. And then up at the top, you can click on Start Assignment to bring up that box where you can type your response. And then when you're done, hit Submit to get your confetti burst and 4-leaf clovers, right, for good luck. So those are the things that we have mainly going on for this week. I will, of course, post the recording of this a little bit later. I'm going to, one more time, I'm going to put this in the chat as well. Please remember that our class officially ends on Friday, May 16th at 11:59 p.m. Okay, and I will send out a couple of reminders about that next week, but I just want to put it on your mind so that you don't miss that deadline. Everything will be closed and not available to you after that Friday night. It's also the one week that I can't give you an extension because the class is over and final grades are due. So just please be really mindful of that as we enter into these last 2 weeks. Also a really wonderful time to start checking your grade, right? Make sure that everything is correct, that you aren't missing any points that you shouldn't be missing. If anything is wrong or missing, please reach out to me and let me know. This is a really wonderful time to fix and address that. Much, much harder once final grades have been submitted. So if there's anything that's wrong or missing, let me know and we can take a look at it together. Otherwise, get going on everything from week 7. And you can also start, as I said, on week number 8 if you want. It's open. Remember that the class ends Friday night next week on the 16th. Okay, so kind of short and sweet, just trying to be really mindful of your time. I know everyone is really overwhelmed right now, but I will hang out for a little bit. If you do have any questions for me, I'm more than happy to answer them if you want to put them in the chat. Otherwise, hang in there, enjoy the self-care activities, use it as a great opportunity to do something fun for yourself while also getting credit for it. I really look forward to your submissions and your pictures. And if you do have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat as I will hang out here for a few minutes. So I'm going to minimize my video so I'm not staring at myself as usual. But if you have any questions, I am here. Thank you all so much again for joining me. I hope you're hanging in there. We're almost there to the end of the class and the end of the semester. So hang in there. It's coming. And again, if you think of any questions now or later, feel free to put them in the chat. or even send me an email. And I am still here. I know I minimized my video, but I'm here if you do have any questions for me. Thank you so much again for all of you joining me. It's weird to see the sun out. It's been so rainy for the last week, and now it's all sunny. It's going to be so hot this weekend. I'm not sure I'm excited about that. But anyway, again, I hope you all have a wonderful week, and don't forget to take care of yourself. And I look forward to seeing all the things that you do to do that.